Okay, guys, we are going to be reviewing the pre-quiz for day 3. If you are watching this video, you were probably absent the day that we did the day 3 packet. So you'll be watching the pre-quiz video, and then after this, you will be taking your post-quiz, which will be for a grade. 3 of these 4 problems can be done in the calculator, but they are all done using a different function in the calculator. So if we look at number 1, it says, what is the solution to the following equation? When you look at the equation, the only thing that we don't know is n. So I need to figure out which one of these is the same thing as n. I have one variable that I'm solving for. I have an equal sign, and I have that variable on both sides. The best way to use the calculator for this problem is to use nsolve. The way you use nsolve in the calculator is you go to the calculator, you add a calculator, menu, algebra, numerical solve. So you use the calculator. Okay, so you add a calculator, and then you go to menu, algebra, numerical solve. Once you click on nsolve, you start typing the first thing you see exactly where the calculator has the cursor. So 12 parentheses -9 minus 11n. You can use any variable for nsolve. So if I have n in the problem, that's what I'm going to type into my calculator. Close parentheses equals -9 parentheses 1 plus 11n. Close parentheses. You need to make sure that what is in your calculator is the exact same thing that's on your paper. Now, what you cannot forget to do is, once you type all of this in your calculator, you have to type comma n. That's like you telling the calculator, tell me what n is. You have to make sure you use the same variable. So if you told it to use n in the problem, that's the variable you have to add after the comma. Once I type that in, the calculator does all the work for me, and it tells me that the answer is -3. Moving on to number 2. This is a calculator question, but we are not going to be using nsolve because this time they want us to find which equation in standard form has a graph that passes through the point -5, -3, and has a slope of -1/5. So they're asking me for a graph, but I don't have a graph. And they want me to find which one of these equations makes a graph that passes through that point. Well, I don't have a graph, but I can graph each of these equations, and I can see which one passes through that point. So we're going to do this in a graph page because we need to graph the answer choices. So graph. These have to be graphed as a relation because the calculator says y equals or f of x equals, and none of these start with f of x equals or y equals. So we have to graph the answers as relation, and we have to check the point -5, -3. So I'm going to graph A first. 4x plus 5y equals -20. Well, there's my graph. I need to check this point. Normally, you would do Control-T, but if I do that, it gives me an error, right? I'm trying to get the table. I can't do Control-T when I graph a relation. So we're going to check the point -5, -3 by using graph trace. Menu, trace, graph trace. Now, when you use graph trace, you're going to input your x value. So I type in -5, and down here at the very bottom, you can see that it pops up a little window and it says x equals -5. Once I hit enter, it's going to take me to the point on this graph where x is -5. Well, on my paper, it tells me that my point should be -5, -3, and that point doesn't match. So it can't be A. So I'm going to do the same thing for answer choice B. Remember, it has to be graphed as a relation because this means y equals, and that's not what this says. So delete relation, 3x plus 20y equals 5. There's my graph. I need to check this point, but I need to do it in graph trace because I can't do a table. Menu, trace, graph trace. -5. As soon as I start typing -5, you'll see that it says x equals. Well, the x value of my ordered pair is -5. That's why I'm putting in -5. On this graph, when x is -5, y is 1. Well, that's not the same as this point, so it can't be B. So I'm going to do the same thing for C. You should be graphing these with me because you need to practice. You need to know how to do this by yourself. X plus 5y equals -20. I need to check to see if this point is on this graph. I can't do the table, so I do graph trace. Menu, trace, graph trace, -5, -3, -5, -3. So far, C is correct. I want to confirm, so I'm going to go ahead and graph D. Delete relation 20x minus 60y equals -3. Well, first of all, this one's wrong because they tell me the slope is -1/5, and this is positive. But if I do graph trace just like I did for all the other ones, that point does not match that point. So the correct answer is C. On the back, number 3 cannot be done in the calculator. So we'll come back to that one. We're going to go ahead and finish off number 4 because it's in the calculator, and then we'll work on number 3. So what is the solution to the system of equations? A system is 2 or more equations. Well, I have one equation here, and I have this equation here. We are going to use system solver, which is similar. The steps are almost the same as nsolve, but it's one different step. So we're going to start with a calculator. Then we're going to do menu, algebra, but this time numerical solve only works when I have one equation or one equal sign. Well, here I clearly have 2 because I have 2 different equal signs, so that means I have 2 different equations. So it's not nsolve or numerical solve. Right here, it tells me the exact same thing that it tells me in the problem. Solve system of linear equations. What is the solution to the system? So I'm going to choose that one. System solve. Well, the calculator is going to ask me 2 questions. How many equations do I have? I have 2. And what are the variables x and y? So I'm just going to scroll down to OK. I'm going to input each equation into its own separate box. So I'm going to put the first equation here and the second equation here. So 1 minus y equals -3/4x. Make sure you're typing it in exactly the way it is on your paper. Don't hit enter. Hit the down arrow to type in the next equation. 24 equals -2x minus 8y. Hit enter, and the calculator is going to do all the work for me. This is the solution. So all I have to do is figure out which answer choice shows -4, -2, and that's D. So those were the 3 that could be done in the calculator. Now number 3 cannot be done in the calculator. So we're going to have to do this one by hand. What I'm trying to do here is turn these words into 2 equations. And I know I need 2 equations because if I look at all of the answer choices, they each have 2 equations. Usually if you take this sentence by sentence, it'll be a little bit easier. The school that Jasmine goes to is selling tickets to a play. Nothing in that sentence can help me write an equation. So I'm going to cross it out. When you have word problems, there's going to be a lot of extra words that you don't need. I don't need any of those words because they're not going to help me write an equation. On the first day of ticket sales, the school sold 12 senior citizen tickets and 4 child tickets, and they made a total of $120. Now that's some information that I can use to write an equation. Within the stuff that I boxed as well, they told me what variable to use for what type of ticket. So senior citizen tickets, I'm going to use the variable S. Child tickets, I'm going to use C. So how can I show 12 senior citizen tickets? Well, they gave me the number. I know what variable to use. So 12S is how I show 12 senior citizen tickets. And means plus. You are combining them. For child tickets, well, the number is 4. The variable for the type of ticket is C. Total means equals. And what was the total? 120. So I was able to use this sentence to write this equation. Well, let's see if we can eliminate any answer choices based off of that first equation. 12S plus 4C equals 120. 12S plus 4C equals 120. Okay, that one's right. 4S plus 12C equals 120. Nope, that's wrong. So B can't be the answer. 12S plus 4C equals, it should be 120, but this is 138. That's wrong, so it can't be C. 4S, nope, it should be 12S. And 4C, so this is wrong. So just by writing that one equation, I'm able to find the correct answer. I'm going to go ahead and write the second equation just to make sure. Once I use a part of the equation, or I'm sorry, of the sentence to write an equation, I'm going to cross it out so I don't use the same number again if it's only there once. The school took in a total of $138 on the second day by selling 3 senior citizen tickets and 10 child tickets. Okay, well this time they sold 3 senior citizen tickets, so that's going to be 3S, and 10 child's tickets. This time they gave me the total, but it's at the beginning instead of at the end, for a total of 138. Well, if I look at this, 3S plus 10C equals 138. So that's my answer. That's all you have to do. You just have to take the words and turn them into equations. Good luck on your post quiz.